John Dewey was born in Burlington, Vermont in 1859. He attended the University of Vermont and went on to get his PhD at Johns Hopkins University. Throughout his career, he was a high school teacher, college professor, director and founder of the laboratory school, psychologist, and philosopher. Before John Dewey's research and philosophies came to fruition, education was dull and boring. School was often geared towards upper-class citizens and would teach lessons that were impractical to your average student. In 1905, over 80% of students would drop out before receiving their high school diploma. Dewey argued that curriculum should be based on the child and their environment. He thought school should be pragmatic. Dewey's most famous quote is, "Education is not preparation for life, it's life itself." John Dewey's teaching theories included learning by doing, having rich discussions about the topics being studied, having students interact with their environment, and lastly, he thought interdisciplinary study was crucial to a full experience for students. John Dewey was a huge advocate for the arts. By utilizing fine arts, music, theater, and movement, students can explore their topics of study in a whole new way. Interdisciplinary study helps solidify students' knowledge. John Dewey's ideas were groundbreaking at the time and were not all that popular. Thankfully, he stood tall in his Reformation ideas, writing over 700 articles, 140 journals, and 40 books explaining his research philosophies. John Dewey taught for over 50 years. In 1952, he passed away at the age of 92. He lived a remarkable life, and we celebrate him today as the father of progressive education. As part of my research paper, I decided to implement John Dewey's philosophy. I expressed myself creatively using interdisciplinary learning to improve my learning experience. I challenged myself to illustrate John Dewey in a comic-like composition. I showed John as a 10-year-old boy, bored in class, daydreaming about learning applicable skills in the field, literally learning to garden and work with tools. These are vocational skills that Dewey thought were more appropriate than dated poetry. I then painted John Dewey in 1889 as a professor at the laboratory school. He is teaching a lesson with his 4 methods of teaching. Lastly, I painted a modern-day student taking a standardized test, but dreaming about doing science experiments with STEM curriculum. We have come a long way, but we still have work to do to ensure that each student is given a rich education that suits their needs. Thankfully, John Dewey paved the way for our students to receive interesting and captivating lessons with hands-on experiences.
Created using Powtoon.